Hello everyone, welcome to Headlines of the Day. This is 21st of March 2022 and we are back again with some of the major highlights from the Hindu newspaper. Let's begin our today's discussion with the very first article on page number 1, that is from GS2 Health section, that is headlined as Covishield second dose 8 week after the first, says the NTAGI. Now this NTAGI is the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization that recommends Covishield can be administered from 8 to 16 weeks after the first dose. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: you have to know about the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization and its recent recommendations. So let's move on. On page number 1 itself, you'll find an article from GS3 Environment section that is headlined as Sun Pharma's expansion project near Tamil Nadu Bird Sanctuary to get a green nod. So this is about Tamil Nadu's Vedanthangal Bird Sanctuary. From this article, you have to know about this particular bird sanctuary. Let's move on to page number 5. You'll find an article from GS3 Environment section. So this talks about Keladaya National Park in Rajasthan's Bharatpur district for capturing and translocating spotted deer. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: what is the African Boma technique, how it works, and what are its objectives. Let's move on to page number 6. You'll find an article from editorial section from GS2 International Relations. This article is written by Mr. Subramaniam Swamy, and in this article, he criticizes government's move to support Russia. In fact, he says that the government should at least condemn Moscow's aggression and illegal invasion. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: why is the Russian military disturbing civil society and killing the innocent in Ukraine? What is the response of West and global community? India's stand, and should India condemn Russia for its aggression and illegal invasion, and what steps need to be taken for restoring India's international credibility. Moving on page number 6 itself, from GS3 Economy section, you'll find an article that talks about South Asian textile story. This article is headlined as Get These Wrinkles Out of the South Asian Textile Story. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: how South Asia became a major player in the global textile clothing market, and what is the progress of India and Pakistan in ready-made garments. Why has India been successful in developing backward links? The role of Technical Upgradation Fund Scheme, that is TUFS, and challenges faced by the country. Why government needs to support the infrastructure, capital, liquidity, and incentivization, and what is the possible way forward. Well, moving on page number 7, you will find an article from GS3 Environment section that is headlined as Harm in the Name of Good. Now, the UN General Assembly has proclaimed March 21 as the International Day of Forest. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: you have to know about this day, its objectives, importance of forest, India's efforts to increase the green cover, and what more needs to be done. Moving on page number 8 from GS3 Environment section, you'll find an article that is headlined as The Complexities of Introducing African Cheetahs to India. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: the distribution of cheetahs in India, what are the habitats, what caused the extinction of cheetahs in India, why did they disappear, what are the conservation objectives of introducing African cheetahs in India, is it a priority for India, what is the current status of the project, and what are the chances of it succeeding. Let's move on page number 10. You'll find an article from GS2 International Relations that talks about China still hopes India will join the RCEP. So as we know, RCEP is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. And from this article, you have to know about the RCEP, why did India step out of the RCEP, and what can the decision cost India? Further on, what are India's options now? On page number 12, you'll find an article from GS1 Geography section that is about Cyclone Ani. Now, this article is headlined as Islands Brace for Cyclone Ship Services Suspended. From this article, certain key highlights to consider are: you have to know about this particular cyclone, the formation of cyclones, what are the various types of cyclones, and how these cyclones are named after. Moving on page number 12 itself, from GS2 Polity and Governance, there is an article that India hopes to put down roots in the Arctic. So this article talks about our aspiration to have a permanent presence with more research and satellite station in the Arctic region. From this article, the key highlights to consider are: the key features of Arctic Policy Document, its objectives, India and the Arctic, that is a history of cooperation and its significance for India. Moving on page number 13 from GS2 International Relations, there is an article that is headlined as Yemen rebels launch strikes on Saudi Aramco facilities. Now, this Aramco is an oil production facility, and Yemen's Houthi rebels have been targeting this oil facility for a long time now. So, from this article, certain key highlights to consider are about the civil war at Yemen, who are Houthis and why is there a war in Yemen, how did Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates get involved in this war, its implications on world and India, and what is the possible way ahead. Well, that's a wrap of today's edition of Headlines of the Day. For regular updates, you can follow us on our social media handles, and for more such videos, do stay tuned to the Next IAS YouTube channel.